Hello everyone, welcome to a bit of a tier list video that I am doing for the Cork LAN 2025, just a month and a half late. As you know, it's really just been the I guess how RLI has been the best month and a half with the Patreon, so I'm sticking to it, albeit on my own personal channel. So yeah, I quite literally, I saw Dave's go up when I uploaded earlier, and I was like, you know what, I said I'd make my own. I said I'd do my own video. So now we're going to actually get to it. But unlike Dave, I'm not afraid to put myself in the video. But we're going to do this in alphabetical order, from first to last. So we'll see how it gets done. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Before I do, actually, I am going to say quite quickly that unlike Dave's, mine is going to be ordered. So if you see someone at the left side of C tier, they'll be higher up than the person at the right side of C tier. So yeah, and without further ado, we might as well start with Mr. AO himself. And I do think AO is actually a player that goes straight into C tier. A bit of a shaky day for AO, admittedly, as he was playing with boosted bananas, playing with large Grady. Yeah, there's a lot to say. They definitely didn't start off the day they might have wanted to, as they really got demolished in their first series of the day when they were playing against Parable and Minty, but definitely bounced right back afterwards when they were playing Jarf and Kevster. And even then gave Mayday and Rene a good game. So AO played quite well. He was definitely slow to start. Quite the opposite of what I would have said about him from Thailand this around 10 months ago. But equally, look, he's a very strong player. He did pick up as the day went on, and he had his reasons for starting slow, which I'm not going to discuss here. So yeah, I think C tier is fine for him. They did about as they expected, maybe a bit better considering how close they played Ren and Mayday. So yeah, hopefully he won't mind that too much. Cans, on the other hand, bit more of a shaky day, admittedly. And there's a lot that you can say for Cans. And I'm gonna have to. I'm also gonna put him in C tier, but I do think it's gonna be below AO slightly. They played 3 series straight today. They got swept by me and Technia on their first. And their second, they got played very close by Gelstar Riz, which surprised me considering Cork had been grinding a lot and Kansas constantly been saying, that he's a LAN player, that he's very good when it comes to 3, so he'll be granted 2, sees the nerves. But between that and then not taking anything off of RLGC makes me have to put him there, and his teammate, for similar reasons, can go a tier below. I don't think Cans was horrendous when playing against us. I don't think Cork played well. I think you could argue that they could even drop down another tier. However, we're not going to do that to them quite yet. And someone who's gone right above them is CK. CK played better than I think anyone expected throughout the day. Played very solid. Very few. I think we all know how it is when you're looking at a player. You might think, huh, that's a weird thing for them to do. But I guess it makes sense for their round. But he seemed like he was in the right place a lot of the time. Yes, maybe there was some balls he should have been hitting even his level. Yes, there was a lot of last man diving. But generally speaking, he played better than what I think any of us would have expected. Like they played D-Lynch's team somewhat close. D-Lynch and SAM. So can't complain too much. But equally, he wasn't the star of the show on his team, so we'll get to that a bit later. Dano is a very tough one to seed. But I'm going to put him. Do I put him C? No, I'm going to put him at the top of D tier. And the reason for that is that I know they didn't play great. throughout the day. They didn't win a series. They started off by losing their group stage match to RGC, but played them quite close in it, is the thing. Which is why he gets D tier, because he played very well in that. But was part of the reason they did get reverse swept. Him and Redport both played quite poor. And I think it's hard to justify him being any higher. But when Dano was playing well, he was playing very well. And I think you can say that a lot of time for Dano. For anyone who watched the Soda Sander tournament we had on the 27th, then you'll see what he's capable of. He has his very good moments where he's just destroying everyone. Got double flip reset goal to beat Mayday, who's one of the best defensive players in the server. So when you have stuff like that, it's quite incredible, really. But could not quite get past Glizz and CK is the issue. Dealing soon. Do I put him below Can? No, I put him above Cans and AO. I put him top of C tier. I do think Dave was a bigger issue than Sam. As much as I do like Dave, I do like playing with Dave. He's very complicit in their defeat. They won against JLSR Riz, which was Gluzzer and CK early on in the day. But then they lost to us in a series they really should have won. They're 5-2 up in game 2. Already a game up in the series. Managed to throw it from there with like a minute and a half to go in the game. A lot of it was just due to him overcommitting on defense. I will admit, I did not see their last series in the day, which was against Is He Real? However, they got swept, and I can only imagine it was more of the same. So, finally, we're going to get out of C and D tier. We're going to give someone a decent rating. It's going to be Eddie. Eddie played quite well throughout today. Obviously, if you're getting above these lads, then you're already off to a good start. Maybe not as well as they would have liked, but they did top their group. Admittedly, absolutely expected to. Obviously, Minute Marchers thrown their series, which meant that they had to beat Rene and Mayday. So he's not going to be too displeased. Bit of a shaky game against RGC, and then swept by Is He Real. They absolutely should have been beating RGC, and I felt like everything that was coming through his teammate. But that's not to say he's playing anyway bad either. Sometimes that's going to happen. Whenever I'm playing with bloody Krolic and Technio, it's always coming through one of them, because I'm usually a bit more of a defensive player. So just stuff like that. He still played quite well in the day, but I do think A tier has a bit of a higher bar. And to join him in B tier is SAM. Similar reasons to Dave. Didn't play great on the day, but definitely played better than his teammate. Was the more threatening player in our series against them. And again, I can imagine that stood for their series versus Is He Real? So yeah, there's not much else to write about Sam, really. Other than maybe he can get better teammate for the next two's LAN, because he's a very good player. The only, when playing against us, there's many times where Dave would go for demo play and wouldn't quite get it. And that means I'd be more in a 1v1 with Sam on the defensive end rather than in a 1v2. So just stuff like that. There was the odd double commit, there was the odd mistake. It's going to happen. No player is perfect. But equally, he was the better player on his team. Gluzzer. Very, very interesting man on his day. Absolutely played better than expected. And for that, I think I'm going to chuck him here. Right above Cans, below AO. He looked a tad bit lost for a bit, admittedly. And I don't think he's going to mind hearing that too much. He had you know what, actually? We're going to move him. We're not going to move him above Dave. We're going to move him above AO. Because saying he's a bit lost is actually a bit harsh with how close he played against Cans. But this feels bad now because they did lose the Cans. Oh, no, overthink. You know what? I don't care. I know they lost the Cans. I'm going to have him above him anyways because I thought it was a sensational performance. The fact he's able to play them close, and more so is a performance in that reverse sweep and ego bruises was just insane. And also played quite well in that series versus Sam and Salmon Dealinch. So, look, he deserves to be up here. Absolutely created so many chances. Played amazing. Had the whole crowd behind him. And he got the whole crowd going as well, even when he wasn't playing. So fair play to Glazer. Definitely the biggest shock, I suppose. Biggest overperformer, if I had to choose one. So fair play to him. Grady. Do I want to put him above Glazer? I'm going to put him above AO. Because I do think he played better. But I don't think I'm going to put him above Glazer. And quite simply, just... I think... They didn't shock anyone, I don't think, with their performances. I think they won what they were expected to. And they lost the series that they were expected to lose. They played them quite close, though. They played Rene Mayday quite close. And Grady was, I actually will throw him above. Because he did play very well in that series. He was the main thing he had going for them throughout the day. AO started to pick up by that series as well, but Grady was what had them going early on. And then once they started getting on the same rhythm, then it looked like they could have made top 8. But unfortunately, just fell a bit short. First F-tier player, Jarf. Quite simply, showed very little throughout the day. Did they get swept out of competition? They got swept out of competition, so they did not take a single game between playing against... who did they play against? They played against Lamadude, 37. Then they played against Grady and AO. And then they played against Minute Martyrs. So it's not an easy run. Like, none of those games are easy ones. But, like, equally, they're expected to go out like that anyways. Because if they didn't face Minute Martyrs, it would have been Mayday and Rene. And I don't think they were winning that either. So it's unfortunate the way they had to go out. Kev's going to go below him simply because I think Jarf played a bit better on the day. But neither of them played great. They got the wooden spoon treatment for the right reasons. And yeah, I don't think we'll see them team again in another LAN, but we'll see how they get on individually. Krolic, as much as I'd love to throw him in F tier, I am going to throw him in D tier. You know what? They won a series. So it's a low bar, but we'll put him and we'll put Light. We'll put him. I don't know now, actually. We'll put him above Dano because again they won a series, so we'll give them that. Yeah. Look, they didn't play great. Krolic was definitely at fault for the first series. The fact he showed up late. As much as Krolic can say, "Oh, the goal we conceded wasn't on me." You have 5 minutes to score in what everyone saw as a 1v2 at the time. Now, Rene played much better than expected. But they're a team that they should be better than. They should be able to at least create a goal. Be able to outscore their opponents. Mayday's insane at defense, but at the same time, he and Light were both at fault. Their only win coming against Jarf and Kevster, and then getting swept out by Little Dude and Lama says enough. So, oh well, he can come complain in my DMs, but look, you're above Light. You're above Dan O'Share, so congratulations to that, but not a great performance from them on the day. Little Dude and Llama up next. We're getting a lot of players now next to our teammates. I'm going to chuck them in S and A tier respectively. Respectively, sorry. Little Dude played insane. Once he started getting going, he was unstoppable. And you really started to see that once the finals came around. Scored the best goal of the day. And generally speaking, just they're insane performance. Could not be stopped by Minty nor Parable. And a deserving MVP. Second one, I believe, in his time in RLI. First one being Cork 2024, but someone correct me if I'm wrong, because Cork 2024 was my first LAN. Llama, also quite well. Played on the defensive end more often. Had a few dodgy misses that went on throughout the day, a lot in our series, which is why we were able to take them to Game 5. But when they had the lead, Llama knew how to hold on to it with both hands. Anytime he'd have the ball, he'd just wait 5 or 10 seconds with it, and it adds up very quickly. Not only does it add up, it frustrates the opponents. It really got to my head. So I think you cannot push him any lower, especially as a LAN winner. Yeah, both played insane on today. There's not much else to say. Great run despite dropping a game early on and proving that best of threes don't matter, because any game that wasn't a best of three, they won. So yeah, fair play to them. But Magic, oh, this is a tough one. Where does Magic go? I don't think Magic played great on his day, so I'm gonna chuck on the bottom of C tier. I don't think he played bad either. I think he actually started off very well. And in their series versus Nate, which is Waffle and Nuss, they absolutely made them work for it. And Magic was playing very well at the time. Started to fall off though as the day went on. Yes, they bet Cans and Cork 3-0, but in their series versus Eddie and Panda, he's practically nowhere to be seen. There's a lot of times where he made the wrong decision. But that's going to happen. He's much lower than his teammate. He was a fish swimming at sharks almost. So I don't think he can complain too much. Maybe you could move him above Cans. I'm going to do that actually, because they did win against Cans and Cork and very comfortably. And he did, I guess, play Waffle and Nuss very close, but at the same time, definitely not the LAN he'd want to be remembering. Mayday next. Gonna go into B tier. Mayday played insane threat today. No one really knew what to think of his team. Definitely the dark horses on the day. But they really showed just what they were capable of. Mayday, usually a defensive player, was very good going forward as well. And yeah, there's not much else. He's sole reason they got as far as they did quarterfinals. Yes, you could say, oh, they only need to win one against Minute Marchers, but they won it. So that's something they'll take no matter what. And then also winning against Grady AO and even taking a game off of Waffle and Nuss. It wasn't demolish. What's the word I want to use? Nate didn't demolish Mayday and Rene. I think it's the best way to put it. And I do think a lot of that is down to Mayday. So yeah, played very good on the day. I think you can even move him above Eddie, maybe. No, I'll leave it like that because Eddie got top 4. But equally, very good performance from. And it makes you wonder, like, if you played with a teammate around his level, could have they made finals? I think they would have absolutely been able to beat Nate at the very least. But that's all they will get for now. And no reason to justify this. Eddie actually bet Mayday and Rene early in the day, so we'll leave it at that. Minty. Do I throw an S tier? I don't think I do. I think that's a spot for Little Dude and only himself. And yeah, there's not much to say. He was just insane. Anytime he'd be on the ball, it looked like he was going to create a major chance. To the point that Little Dude and Llama just started focusing on him completely because they knew full well in that final that he was a threat. He was doing the danger man, if you would. So it was amazing to watch because everything he touched was just turning to gold. But as soon as he started getting shut down, there was not a plan B from him, which is the unfortunate side of things. Because he was playing great, but everything continued to go the same way that it did. Still, I think he should be quite happy. Had he won LAN, absolutely would have been the MVP. But Little Dude and Llama just a bit too much for him. And I'm realizing who I have up next. I have myself. And I don't like this, so I might come back. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave myself to last and we'll slot myself in there. Just to make you all wait. But Nuss first is a very interesting one. This is going to be controversial, but I'm going to check on the top of C tier. I think Nuss had a LAN to forget. Usually he's great on LAN. You know, he's an amazing player and he's a twos main. From what I'm aware anyway, so I would have expected him to dominate. But anytime I did watch him, he just looked very flat. He didn't look like himself. And especially in that series versus Little Dude and Llama, a series that people probably would have been thinking, yeah, this is going to be close. And a lot of people would have had Nuss and Waffle winning this LAN, considering how the twos tournament the weekend beforehand went. They just didn't show it. And Nuss in particular just was not at his best. So I can't put him above C tier. He did the series versus Lil Dude Lamb was not close whatsoever. And I'm gonna do Waffle real quick. I'm gonna throw Waffle into B tier because I'll put him above SAM. Because I do think Waffle's better than Nuss. I do think he's creating more chances. But it wasn't like he was insanely better. Just a bit better. Is the best way to put it. So Panda now. Do I chuck Panda in A tier is the question. I think Panda had a very good LAN. Whenever I was watching them, including when I casted their series versus RLGC, I do think everything was coming through Panda. And whereas usually I would have thought maybe Eddie would be the better player, LAN really made me think, yeah, Panda was just doing everything. Not that Eddie played bad. Obviously B tier still played very well. But Panda looked unplayable at times. Now, I can't say what happened between them and Is He Real, because I didn't watch the series, admittedly. I was casting the other series at the time. But based on what I did see, I think he deserves low A tier. Because really, against RGC, everything he was doing was working out. Loads of demo plays, loads of bumps. Really just being a nuisance. And yes, I know they didn't play much series. They played 3 series total, if I'm not mistaken. But I saw 2 of those series, and 2 of those series he looked impressive. So it's hard to put him anywhere else. So yeah, I think he'll be happy with that. Parable. Very weak final, admittedly. But had to be there. As in, played well to be there throughout the day. And obviously got a win against Llama and Little Dude earlier in the day. I don't chuck him A tier, but bottom of A tier. Definitely another player that I think I can say it's maybe not LAN to forget, but final to forget for him. Not great once it came to the final. Looked quite weak. And cheated up a lot, which cost him, especially in that game, game 6. But again, to get to the finals, to be there, they swept 2 series in a row against Eddie and Panda and against D-Lynch and Sam. Neither of them easy series, so to be able to sweep them is insane. But equally, maybe could have expected more from the final, and that would have lost them a spot or 2. Still, all the same, great performance from him. Just would have liked a bit more. Pukas now. And Pukas is an interesting one because I see a lot of people rating him and going like, oh, but yeah, he had magic, so of course he's not going to play well, or as well as he could have. But I still do think he played quite poor. I'm not going to put him in the same tier as Magic because when he did have chances, he's very clinical. But I do think a lot of the goals they conceded, Pukas could have been much better for. He was quite shaky at times. Very shaky at times, in fact. And that was especially obvious when playing Panda and Eddie. Like, he didn't have much going for him. He made some things look tougher than they actually were. And yes, sure, he's creating loads of chances going forward. He's getting a lot of goals. But equally, he left Magic in somewhat. Like, there's times Magic would concede and people would be like, oh, Magic, what are you doing? But equally, Pukas needs to realise, obviously, okay, I'm playing with a weaker player. I can't overcommit to everything. I need to be last man more often than Magic is. Because otherwise you're going to concede. Eddie and Panda are going to make life hell for Magic. They made life hell for Pukas, as is with the demo chasing. And he really failed to avoid most of them. Didn't manage to take a game, but I do think he could have done better, especially with the way he was playing the weekend beforehand. Yes, he was playing the weekend beforehand with a good teammate, but all the same, I did have high expectations. Thought they could have maybe caused an upset, or at least played it closer, but not quite. Rene is also an interesting one. I'm going to throw a red port there. I don't think that even needs an explanation. Bottom of F tier, undeniably. Rene played much better than expected, and I think you can chuck him into C tier. Yeah, let's put him here. Yeah, Rene was definitely the wild card going into today. On the day, no one really knew what to expect from him. We knew what his peak was. When he played well, he'd fit into a team with Mayday. Not obviously at that level, but he wouldn't look completely lost. And from what I was told, because I didn't get to see a lot of him, admittedly, but what I did see was that he was actually playing quite well. I do believe when he scored on Chronicle Light, he got a fake, if I'm remembering correctly. And he also played very well during the series against Waffle and Nuss. Definitely didn't look. He didn't look lost in the series. I think is the best way to put it. So he'll be more than happy with that. So now we have 2 players left, myself and Techno. And I think I'm going to chuck us both to the top of B tier. I'll put myself. I keep debating was I better or worse than Techie on the day. But I think I'm going to. I'll leave it like this. Because I keep on bouncing back and forth. I think the first game didn't matter. Our first series against Kansas and Cork. We were expected to win that. I think our second series versus D-Lynch, we both played quite well. Techie almost messed up at the end of game 3. He dived something in their corner when we were to goal up at 0 seconds. But luckily Dave and Sam couldn't capitalise on it because Dave missed the demo. But then in the series versus Lamadude, I was playing great, and then the miss comes out and I play horrid for the rest of the series. I also thought Techie was playing quite well that series, and then didn't play as bad as I did, but definitely also visibly got worse. So yeah, I think I'll keep Techie above me. I think we both deserve B tier because I do think this is gonna sound so egotistical. But I do think we were the 3rd best team on the day. 3rd/4th. So I think Little Dude and Lamb were better than us. I think Minty and Powerball were better than us, and I think if we met them in the final, we would have lost. And I think had we played against Panda and Eddie, it would have been very close. But I think any other team we played them, we would have won. That's how I view our LAN, mainly. But look, we can dream, we can imagine what would have happened. What ended up happening is we didn't win. We got knocked out to Lamb and Little Dude. Maybe could have won, maybe should have won. Well, no, we actually shouldn't have won. They deserved it. They were better in 4 of the 5 games. But at the end of the day, we finished where we did, 5th-8. Heads held high because we played the winners close enough. And yeah, so that's my tier. That's 28 minutes. I'm a yapper, but look, what do you expect from me? A minute per player. Nothing more, nothing less. So, look, if you stuck through the whole thing, which I'd be surprised if you did, because, Jesus Christ, you must have loads of free time. Thanks for watching. And hopefully I'll do more videos like this more often, rather than waiting a month and a half, because I wanted to do one of these earlier, but didn't get around to it in the end. So, cheers lads for watching, and hopefully there'll be some more videos up here soon. See yous.